Hey yo, what's up? Give people a second to load up the video. First of all, I want to say thank you for coming to my channel. I have about 111 subscribers. I started this channel in 2009, and overall, I have 86,000 views on my channel. So, thank you so much. I want to apologize that I do live in a group home, so you can hear all kinds of background sounds and stuff like that. But let's make a track. I'm going to focus on production, mixing, and mastering. This will be for dubstep in the key of F sharp / G flat melodic minor. Let's do it. So, gonna grab a kit, and when I produce a track that I release, I do about 90% of it, 90% of it in the first hour or two. Then I do 5% in an hour or two, and the last 3% in another hour or two. So this won't be quite as the quality of my releases, but you'll get the idea. We're going to be using groups, mastering, getting the levels right. What I like to do to get the levels right is I listen on my earbuds. And when I listen on my earbuds, what I'm listening for is, does the earbud rattle with the bass when the kick hits or the bass hits? If my earbuds are rattling, and I go like max volume on my phone, if the earbuds are rattling, I have to turn down the bass. And after doing that so many times, I gotta feel for the levels. So you want the drums at about negative 16 dB, and you want the bass at negative 18 dB. And then you're going to bring it all up on the master track. So you're actually bringing it up to about 0. But if it's at 0 and then you boost it up, it'll be rattling the earbuds. And the goal of this is to make a track that you can play at max volume. So when you're opening, you'll sound quiet. But when you're headlining, they can turn you up all the way. And if you can be turned up all the way, it'll sound great. And you might lose the loudness war. But if you do a DJ mix of all your original tracks in context with each other, you'll really stand out and it'll sound good. And I actually can do 2 DJ sets. I can do 2 DJ sets. One is dubstep and one is house and techno, and it's an hour long and it's all originals. So does the loudness war really matter if it's all in context with each other? You know what I mean? And we're just chilling. This is a chill video. My internet's down at my house, can't play video games. I just finished a game. I plan to play Diablo tonight, but the internet's down. Good time to make a video. So this is in my favorites, right? It's a utility and a saturator. Saturator is set to digital clip, hard clip. I got tired of constantly setting the saturator to digital clip, hard clip. The only other one I use is Bass Shaper. So I just made a group and I favorited it. So what you're going to do to get it up to 16 dB is turn the utility up. Turning the utility up, feeding into the saturator is so much more important than turning up the drive on the saturator. You'll get a lot more perceived loudness that way. And so, skipping ahead a little bit, when we're on the main channel, we're going to feed that saturator and turn up the volume way a lot at the beginning of the master chain. If you turn it up and boost that limiter or the saturator or the clipper at the end of the mastering chain, you'll get a lot of distortion and your earbuds are going to be rumbling. At the very end of my master chain, as you will see, I do not boost any dB. The saturator is there for a clipper. And I use limiter catch peaks preset too. All right. So what I'm doing is, this is less than negative 16 dB. So I'm bringing it up louder. Put a little bit of saturator on there. So since it's clipping the saturator, and I have my since it's clipping the saturator, and I have my volume set to negative 16, that way I know it's negative 16, and I know that's a sweet spot for drums. But put another one on the kick. So this is just going to the kick. Coming in a little hot. The snare's going to get a reverb. Get a reverb that's meant for snare room, that works. Get another one of that group, the saturator and the utility saturator, put that on there after the reverb. Not all the way wet. Just going to turn down my hi-hats a little bit. That snare's a little loud. Alright, we're ready to get a bass. My most used tool is the saturator, the utility going into the saturator. That's how I get it flush with 0 before I turn it down. And we're going to do a lot of crazy things with grouping. Alright, save this. Collect all and save. Alright, let's get to the mastering. So, these two are going to be grouped. Those. And I want them to be negative 20, so I'm going to bring them up flush with 0. And then do negative 20. Oh, negative 18 because it's a bass, but this one will be negative 20. The bass you want to be a negative 18. So if your group has a bass in it, which this does, it needs to be negative 18. Okay, so we made a group of the bass and the strings. Then we made another group that has the bass and the strings in one group. And then we add the break and the detuned synth. So that's one group. Now we want everything but the drums. So the sub will be grouped with that. So the sub is grouping with the other group. And it can only be negative 18 because it has a bass. Now normally in a production you'll have a lot more sounds than this, but I'm running out of time. We're going to get an EQ. On just this bass sound. Now for some extra, we're going to do drums and the sub will get their own return tracks. And since we're mixing so low, we have to turn it up twice, because just one isn't loud enough. But since you're turning up so loud, you have to actually turn down the volume to be equal to your negative 16 or negative 18. All right, let's get the drums in there. All right, let's do the bass. The bass, we're going to boost the mids. And the best way to boost mids is an OTT. We're going to open up the bass, and we're going to boost the mids with upward compression. Go to roar and get a bass shaper. Oh, let's put a bass shaper on this one too. Boop. And these return tracks, they're like 10% better, basically. But 10% better sounds good. Get that roar. Bass fattener before the OTT probably. Now your OTT is going to be going wild because you're boosting the mid, so take down the output of the OTT. And we do want a little bit of reverb on that bass. And that's going to come through on a cell phone so nice. I like to use just the basic reverb that comes with Ableton. It's just kind of a good sound. We're going to send a few things to that. Turn that down about negative 20. And we're about to get to the mastering phase. We'll put the strings into the reverb and the delay. And all of this is just for about 10% better. And these return tracks will be going to the master alongside of the mix. For some reason, it isn't liking this. Okay, we're going to have to use the group. It's not liking the return track for the individual track. I don't know why. Maybe it's a bug that I encountered. All right. So the song is done. Now it's time to master it. Save. Collect all and save. Mastering's super easy. So like I said, you want to blow out the saturator at the beginning of the chain, not at the end of the chain, because you'll get distortion at the end of the chain. So this will be 11 and 4. Get another one, negative 6. You know how they say you should be negative 6 dB going to the master? That's what we're doing here. But first we're boosting it and we're clipping it. So I just go all the way down to master. Okay, so we already know we're gonna be doing this. So we got a saturator to clip it. This is at the end after the mastering channel. So we got boosting it up then bringing it back down -6, then the mastering, then a clipper at 0, and then we're going to do limiter, true peak, and then one more clipper. And we're not going to turn up the volume on this one, or the true peak limiter, or the final clipper. So bring it into, we're going to open this up. And we're going to check that glue compressor. So the threshold, you're going to want about 5 dB of gain reduction. See how I'm moving the threshold? I'm moving the threshold of the glue compressor to get it up to that 5 dB. And then you're going to turn up the compression gain so it's just barely tickling the limiter. Do you see how we saw that orange light come up when it was tickling the limiter? With no gain, we're not hitting the limiter, so bring a little gain. I'm going to turn down the clipper at the beginning a little bit. And since I turned down the gain at the beginning of the chain, I had to bring the threshold on the compressor down a little bit. So we get that 5 dB of gain reduction. And I'm going to turn on the soft clip here. Now we're going to turn up the limiter gain. See how the orange lit up over here? If you're at -0.5, it's not actually limiting. You want that orange to show up a little bit. At the beginning of the chain, turn the width up 111%, bass mono under 120 Hz. Same thing with the second to last one. Do width 111, bass mono under 120 Hz. Alright, cool. Thank you so much. We're just chilling. That's how I mix and master. Obviously, I do a lot more artistic stuff, have way more layers to the track. Intro, bridge, break, vocals, way more layers. But yeah, that's how I do it. And just the return tracks is for about 10% better. Boosting the mids on the return track of the sub bass will come through on a phone really well. Anyway, peace out. That's how I produce, mix, and master. Hope I helped you. My name's Travis. Hit that like and subscribe. Peace, 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 peace. Peace.